The Knicks are not yet here. The cops are everywhere. And we got Tyler Kolek over there. We got FDNY, Ladder 10. The guys from Ground Zero, Heroes are all there. People are excited. The kids are out of school. I don't know why they didn't cancel school. But it's live in New York. Woo! Wish you were here. Let's go Knicks! Good morning from New York City. It is already crazy. The streets are packed. The roads are closed. The cops are out. The kids are psyched. This is undoubtedly the biggest parade we'll ever see and we've ever seen. I don't know if there's anything close to it, maybe VJ Day or VE Day. But people are already packed. It's already 2 hours away and the city's excited. So I'll post some updates from New York. Maybe we'll go live. But from New York City, a very happy New York City, we can't wait to celebrate the Knicks and share some positive energy and happiness with the rest of the country and the rest of the world. It's going to be an awesome day in New York. Let's go Knicks. All right, here's the latest update. The Knicks are not yet here. The cops are everywhere. And we got Tyler Kolek over there. We got FDNY, Ladder 10. The guys from Ground Zero, Heroes are all there. People are excited. The kids are out of school. I don't know why they didn't cancel school. But it's live in New York. Woo! Wish you were here. Let's go Knicks! I don't know if the live is going to work. This shit is crazy. Oakley, Freewell, Starks, the legend just came through. New York City, greatest city in the world.
Going on outside, no man is sick.
Let's go! Josh Hart! 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 There goes Josh Hart. All right, so I've been trying to go live for the last half hour, but Instagram does not work well when there's 2 million people celebrating. So I couldn't go live. But now the parade is making its way up the Canyon of Heroes behind me. It's been an amazing couple of hours, tremendous energy, so much happiness. It's just really, really great to see so many people so happy. I met two guys who came all the way from Sydney, Australia. They watched every Knicks game at the Garden. They stayed one more night for this, and they're flying back to Australia tonight. People from all over the city and all over the world are coming together to celebrate the Knicks, celebrate basketball, celebrate this city. It's an amazing day in New York. I hope this energy is contagious and can continue throughout the summer. Joy is so important to share and experience together, and we got a lot of joy in the city today. So spread it. Spread the joy, spread the love. It's part of the New York culture, part of the New York way. But from New York City, USA, to you and everywhere in the world, it's a great day for New York, a great day for Knicks fans. They're off to City Hall. Let's keep it going. See y'all here again next year. Let's go, Knicks! Independent Americans, as you know, the primaries are taking shape. 2026 is unfolding. This show is at the middle of it. I'm helping you stay ahead of it. And you can trade on the biggest political races happening all across America on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade major primaries, election outcomes, and the biggest political storylines as they happen. You can trade on pretty much everything you hear about in this show. In its primary season this week, we have Maine, Nevada, South Carolina, North Dakota. On June 23rd, we will have the New York primary, and this will be in the richest district in America. This is the one that has Jack Schlossberg, Mika Lasher, George Conway, the former Republican. So you can bet on these things. You can bet on these primary races. Will Jack Schlossberg, the heir to the Kennedy legacy, win the New York 12 primary race? Or will George Conway? Right now, Conway is trading at 1%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $2,950.10 if he wins his election. There's a lot of other really important, timely, and cool political stuff you can bet on. The Senate elections are obviously a very big deal. And there is a question of who will win, not just in Maine, but also in Texas. Will Tallarico beat Ken Paxton in Texas? Right now, Tallarico is currently trading at 42%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $228.78 if he wins that election. The Texas Senate race is one of many that you can focus on. We've talked about whether Pete Hegseth will last as Secretary of Defense. Will the Strait of Hormuz stay open? You can wager on that one. And then there's also a big one that I may come back to from time to time. Right now, you can bet on who will be the 2028 Democratic and Republican presidential nominee. Right now, Gavin Newsom is leading at 21%. You can wager on an AOC, John Ossoff, Kamala Harris, Rahm Emanuel, Josh Shapiro. You can go down to Mark Kelly or Ro Khanna, or our friend Wes Moore, who's been on this show before. Wes Moore is trading at 2.6%, which means if you bet $100 now on Wes Moore and he wins, you will win $3,638. That's the max payout on November 7th. You can also put money on James Tallarico or Alyssa Slotkin or Mark Cuban or Jon Stewart. You can place your bets now at Kalshi. And we talked about some other things that you can wager on. You can talk about whether or not Trump will attend another finals game. There was a 60% chance last week that Trump would attend an NBA finals game. If you put down $100, you paid out $159.57. And let's bring a new one to you, what I think is a fun one. It's related to technology and science, but also to politics. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist? This is definitely a topic of conversation in the White House. It comes up in the news from time to time. Trump loves to talk about it. Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? If you vote yes, it's trading at 13.9%, which means if you wager $100, you will pay out $675.08. This is all the stuff that you can focus on Kalshi, where politics is available for your focus every single day. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code INDEPENDENT to get $10 when you trade 10. That is independent. Kalshi, Kalshi, where you can trade on anything, including politics and all the latest from our news headlines. It is fun. And if you watch or listen to this show, you will stay ahead of the curve. 18 and over only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Even contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory. Independent Americans, you can get in on the action right now at Kalshi.
All right. And goodbye is really goodbye this time from the president, from Paris to Versailles. As we expand our conversation we're having in studio, Dr. Nazi Monyan is here. Dr. Lauren Wright from Princeton is also here. And Professor Paul Rieckhoff of the Independent Americans podcast is also here. So we were going to talk to you guys anyway. And Nazi, you and I were already speaking. So I actually want to start with you on what we just heard. The president, there was a lot, but the one thing that stood out to me, I thought we were trying to get rid of the ballistic missiles in Iran. Now the president seems to say that, well, that wouldn't exactly be fair on them. What's that all about?
That's a curious choice of word. Do you want to be fair to your enemies so that they could come back and attack you and create mayhem in the region or at the shores of the United States? I don't know if he meant to say it the way he said it. I hope not. Your metric shouldn't be that you're fair to your enemy. Your metric should be that you want to disable enemy to the point that they can't come back and kill you.
You would think, Paul.
Yes.
Here we go again.
right?
Yeah.
These are the people who killed 13 Americans and he threatened to annihilate, and he called the worst people in the world, and he wanted to eliminate. Now he's okay with them staying in power. They're still going to have control over the strait. The nukes won't be eliminated, and they'll still have serious military capacity. This is a bad deal, and that's why so many hawks on the right, like Mike Pence and Nikki Haley and others, are also condemning. He's in a really bad spot here, and I don't think anybody thinks this is a good deal except him.
That was why earlier, Lauren, we had this it came across as a joke, or the president wanted to come across as a joke. He's asked the last question at his first news conference about whether he blamed the vice president for the whole thing. He says, yeah, I will.
I did.
And then I'm like, I actually didn't see Marco Rubio smiling when he said that, which was kind of interesting. But the other part about it is, people on Capitol Hill are already doing that, saying this is J.D. Vance, who didn't like this war, and he's going to be thrown under the bus for it. But the buck should stop with the president.
It does, and I think J.D. Vance is in an impossible position. I mean, it's a flawed deal for all of the reasons my co-panelists just mentioned, but J.D. Vance has to go out there and sell it and explain it, and I actually think he's done as good of a job as you could with this material deal as you could. I mean, he's been factual. He's been trying to be very fair, very calm, and it's not something he wanted in the first place, and it's not something a lot of conservatives wanted. And on the left, I think, even if you loved the JCPOA, you didn't like this because it started with bombs.
Is there a case? Could you make a case for this and say this?
Let me try. I don't know.
No, go ahead. No, seriously, I'm curious because I've heard it. The reason I ask is because I've heard it from both sides, as Paul said. Conservatives and obviously, Democrats are not going to like it. Pretty much anything the president does. But could you make a case for this?
I think the most convincing case starts with Operation Midnight Hammer. You can't say the thing about we obliterated it and then we didn't. That's bad messaging. But if the case is Iran was an imminent threat, which I do think you can make that case, that it's an imminent threat to the U.S. and Israel when they chant death to America every single day in the streets, we needed to remove the nuclear weapons capability, and we needed to remove most of their capability to strike allies in the region.
Yep.
But the dust is a different issue. It's still there.
That's what the president calls it.
It's the kind of deal you negotiate when you lose. I mean, this is a losing deal.
Well, is that what happened here?
It seems like it. I mean, if he says we won, what did we get? I mean, the gas prices are up. Our military resources are sucked in. We've still got 40% of our Navy in the region. His poll numbers now, by every metric, we've lost.
Well, if I could, what you get is short-term security. And I do think the U.S. should be able to act in their short-term security interests, even if it's 3 months, even if it's 6 months. But the long-term security interests are not.
The only security right now is for the regime in Iran.
What about it?
I don't think we're more secure.
You're the one from Iran.
Yeah.
Right. So there's so many ways to unpack this. I think what happened here is that we actually announced to the world that we have very low threshold for economic pain. Stock market matters, the oil prices matter. And then Iran, on the other hand, can brag that they won because they didn't lose, because they have a higher threshold for pain. They can absorb the attacks, they can absorb the high cost of everything because it's the Iranian people that are suffering.
Well, I was thinking about it this way because people say, well, did the president cave? And the way I heard it, and Lauren, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong about this, is that he basically said that he caved when he said, if I don't do this, the alternative is a global recession.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying, yeah, I caved because if I didn't, this war I started was going to drive us into a recession.
He's very unusual in a couple of ways compared to previous presidents. He's not ideological. He will negotiate with Iran as if it's a rational actor, which it is absolutely not, and he will take them at their word. That's strange. And then he will admit, yes, I care politically about my interests at home.
Right.
Yes, this is bad politically.
And on to Versailles he goes. Listen, Lauren and Paul, you were coming on anyway. We have a few other topics for you, but Nazi, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to take a quick break. It's always great to have you on and continue with the coverage of all the news that's happening today. There's plenty of it. We're coming right back. Expected to be. The president's reaction to that was, quote, whatever. We're back at the news center now with Paul Rieckhoff and Lauren Wright still with us. Lauren, on this point, the Fed, I kind of set it up at the top of the hour as I kind of the tail of two news conferences because I was interested to see how Warsh would characterize our economy versus the president. And, he wants lower interest rates. He says whatever about Warsh not lowering them yet. But the fact is, the Fed sent a signal today, if anything, they're going to raise rates by the end of the year.
Well, President Trump's just happy it's not Powell anymore. He was in sort of an active war with that person. And I think he sees Warsh as a clean slate. And with sort of high inflation, keeping rates steady isn't a non-decision. I mean, I think that's reasonable.
Now, we have a clip here. There's Warsh speaking in Washington of the president and how he characterized the Iran deal, which we were just talking about a moment ago, and how Warsh is characterizing the economy as he sees it right now. So here's the two of them on the same day. Listen.
So the one thing I didn't want to see is I didn't want to see economic catastrophe. If you kept this going, that could have happened. But all I know is every time we talked about the possibility of peace, the stock market shot up like a rocket ship. Every time we said something amazing, like we're going to settle, it would go up. And every time we said something negative, like, guess what, we're not going to be able to settle, it would go down very big, Peter, very, very big.
All right. So that's the president. And Kevin Warsh, we played earlier, basically saying inflation's too high, okay, but I'm not going to do much about it, measured, for now, and that kind of thing. But that does give you a window, Paul, into how the president sees things. Remember, we used to say, he's just thinking about the markets, clearly.
Yeah, it's like he just realized that what he says impacts the markets. I mean, what he says impacts the markets pretty much more than anything.
Oh,
right?
I think he knows.
Yeah, but he's also kind of toggling with it up and down in a way that's really inconsistent. And I think the reality is he's lost control of Iran, which is influencing the economy, which he's now lost control of.
Right.
And he's saying at the same time, I love inflation. So he's stepping on his own progress, if there is any. And he's really, I think, lost control of the situation. And that's the problem with Iran. It's always had the potential to be a sucking chest wound for our military and also for our economy. And now for the global economy. So as long as there's instability in that region, we're going to see instability in gas prices and prices back home.
There were a couple of other things today I think are worth mentioning, Lauren. One of them is the fact that the president, when he's overseas, basically blew up the nomination hearing for Jay Clayton, who he wants to be his next director of national intelligence, told him not to show up. He's going to keep this guy Bill Pulte in there on an acting basis. What did you make of how all that played out? The hearing was supposed to be today.
He wants his, his voting legislation
the
voter ID,
Act.
the SAVE Act, exactly. So I don't know if that'll work out, because the assumption is Democrats will be very upset that I'm holding back this nomination. But I think if they see it as him shooting himself in the foot, they'll just keep rolling with it.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Pulte was considered a disaster. And I think that the larger issue is he wants someone who will be an attack dog for him on the elections. He knows, in my view, that the midterms have the potential to be a circuit breaker. And he said he will try to disrupt them. That will be the one thing that can hold him accountable in the fall and into next year. And I think he's going to continue to be focused on having attack dogs, loyalists who can back him up on anything that happens around the midterms.
Now, speaking of the midterms, we did have this was the other thing I wanted to mention, a split decision essentially for the president last night. His candidate, the governor's race, lost, but the candidate endorsed in the Senate race won in Georgia. And now today on redistricting, Republican lawmakers in that state said they're not going to redraw the congressional and state legislative district for the 2028 election. They had a special session that Governor Kemp called. So what about Georgia?
He has a very mixed record on this. I think that's the danger of extrapolating when, all of his hand-selected primary picks win. And then we say the president's still the head of the party and he has all this control, because there really is a very mixed record. Trump is very predictable. He will choose the person to run in a primary that he wants to advance his agenda and is loyal to him.
Even if it's not best for the party.
Sometimes they win and sometimes they lose.
Right.
And so it's 50-50.
And there's no, what about for Democrats that they're not going to redistrict in Georgia too as well? It's interesting.
I mean, it's all a mess. And I think there's a really important factor around all the primaries. You and I have talked about this every. We have a primary problem. In these primaries, they're almost all close to independents. And who you see showing up in the middle of summer are extreme left and extreme right.
Yeah.
You saw that in Washington, D.C., where you actually had voters wanted an open primary, and the Democrats in the city council blocked it. And so now you've got another Mamdani-esque socialist who could be mayor of D.C.
So the president threatening to take over the city.
Yeah, the extremes are running the primaries, and that's a problem because 45% of the country is independent. We got new polling yesterday that shows more and more people are leaving the Republican and Democratic Party, and this is why.
But that's on independence, too. I mean, would you say people should pick the lesser of two evils and register for one party?
No, not at all. I'd say exactly the opposite because the game is rigged. You can't have the players, also the referees, and what you've got now.
They are locked in this situation.
But that's changing. You now have open primaries
primaries in California, New Mexico, Alaska.
Jersey,
and that's the future. I mean, saying we got to pick the lesser of two evils is not going to work with anybody anymore.
New Jersey's getting it right? That's odd. Thanks, Lauren. Good to see you in New York today. And Paul, always good to have you as well. Yeah, that's how we end it.
Archipelago, he tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wake, it's time to grow. And it's not cool to believe in school, but if I can say one thing, I've seen the children of the revolution and the good trouble they can bring. He says the red and blue are dead and independent is an attitude. An island in the sea of rhetoric and archipelago, he tells me the left and right are dreams for those without a clue. And when you wait, it's time to grow.
Powered by Righteous Media.